Hello and welcome to today's episode of Raise Your Visibility Online with me, Louise Brogan. And today I have such a guest for you. I think I'll give you your full title, Kerensa. Professor Kerensa Jennings is our guest today, and we met, it sounds very posh, we met in the House of Lords.
Good.
So before I start talking about you, Kerensa, can you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Thank you. Well, it's really lovely to be here. And thank you very much for having me. I'm Kerensa Jennings. How do I introduce myself? I live in West London. I have a cat called Cabbage. Um, I've I've had a very squiggly career. I'm really a storyteller at heart.
Hmm.
I spent the first half of my career working in television as a television producer. And you may know some of my shows, like I was program editor of Breakfast with Frost. And
Uh-huh.
I did a paleontology series featuring a very little known naturalist called Sir David Attenborough. And I was the BBC's election results editor. I then moved into strategy at the BBC, and I was the BBC's head of strategic delivery. And through that, I did lots more technology things, and I was
Mm.
using lots of AI and data and all sorts of tech back in those days. I initiated what has gone on to become the BBC Microbit, which is an
Oh,
incredible little mini computer, which is now all over the world, being sold in more than 100 countries, helping millions of children learn how to code. And I also spent then 4 years working at Buckingham Palace because I was the chief exec of a digital and data learning platform for self-directed learning. So that was very exciting. And then I spent the next few years working at BT. I was their digital impact director. And then I became BT Group Director of Data Platforms. And through all of that, I was also doing lots of different board work, committee work, joining different groups. I belong to so many different tribes. So I'm part technology, part storyteller, part media, part part bit of everything. So I have an enormous appetite to learn, and I guess that brings me up to today.
well, I mean, where do we even start with all of that? That's, I know I'm going to start. I'm going to start at the
Okay.
BBC. Well,
Yeah.
maybe we should explain how we, like I said, I met you at the House of Lords, but how did we meet, Carenza? What was, and like it wasn't, I wasn't helping you with the strategic direction of the BBC.
I quite a few years ago, I ended up meeting the irrepressible Michelle Ovens,
Yeah.
who many of you will know is the founder and chief exec of Small Business Britain.
Mhm.
Back in those days, it used to be called Peak B, and she was also the director. Do you remember that?
Well, I
And
didn't know her then. I didn't know her at Peakby.
right,
Mm.
yes, she had a big rebrand. I think it was towards the end of 2019. And she was also the director of Small Business Saturday. And part of the tribe of people that I work with, help do all sorts of things with, is small businesses. I've been working with small businesses for an awfully long time. I run my own small business. Um, I I believe in the power of small businesses,
Mm.
basically powering the whole of the UK economy. And I'm always rolling up my sleeves and trying to get involved where I can. And so Michelle kind of spotted me as a bit of a soft touch and got me involved very early on. But actually, we did some wonderful work together. So when I was at the Palace, I was running a platform that helped anyone, no matter what their stage or age, learn digital skills. It's
Yes.
everything about protecting your business online, staying safe online,
Mm.
learning different things about cloud computing, all kinds of stuff. And she very kindly started talking about it to all of her networks. And
Mm.
we just ended up doing lots of really cool things together. And then I brokered the relationship for Small Business Britain. Then when I joined BT, I got them involved with BT, and I
Hmm.
did loads of things with them at BT because in my first job at BT, I was employed to help 10 million people in the UK develop digital confidence and digital skills. So
Hmm.
through that, I thought, well, working with all of the small businesses of the UK would be a wonderful opportunity to do that. So um, I went to one of their events And there was a vision in probably blue, because you often wear blue, a vision in blue, Louise Brogan. And I'd heard about you because I'd actually seen that Michelle was also talking about you and talking about how amazing you were. And we ended up connecting, talking, and getting on. And that was quite a few years ago now.
Yes. I mean, I don't know how you find time to do all these things. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But yes, we did. And then I spotted you at the following year, I think, at one of the reception. I thought, oh, there's that lovely lady, Kerensa.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
probably cornered you.
Likewise. Well, it's lovely to get to have familiar faces
Yes.
and to think of ways that you can also help each other. I think that's just a really nice thing. And I think that is the way networks work. I can't
Yes.
always help everybody, but I always do try when I can.
Yes.
And you say about how do you fit it in? Well, I feel like my life is a bit like the TARDIS. It's sort of it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. I just I color code my calendar.
Uh-huh.
That is basically the secret to my life.
Mm.
And I try to prioritize eating well and sleep. Uh,
Yes.
and other than that, I try to make sure I'm getting better at saying no to the things that I can't do.
It's
Which
such a
is
common
hard.
thread. That that
Mm,
that is I learned a few years ago to not say yes to things straight away. I still do it.
yeah.
Like if Michelle calls me and asks me for something, yes, automatic yes, and that's okay. But yes, various coaches over the years have said to me, Louise, wait 24 hours. Just give it 24 hours before you say yes to something. But certain things, Granza, you're like, absolutely, I want to do that. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to figure out how it all fits in with everything else.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
So you're also a podcaster. Tell us about that.
Yes, I started as a guest of various podcasts quite a few years ago. So obviously I was in broadcasting. I made television programs for a
Yes.
living. So I'm a professional content maker. I'm also an author, which we'll get to maybe later.
You are an author. We are going to get to that.
We'll get to that later. Um, yes, I just love the medium of what was originally radio.
Mhm.
And radio has the most incredible intimacy in a way that television doesn't. And
Mhm.
podcasts have taken that intimacy and made it their own. And what podcasts give you is utter convenience because you can listen on your terms when you want, how you
Yes.
want. You can have it on in the background when you're doing something else. You can just immerse yourself when you're on the bus. You can choose to actively use it as part of your learning. So I'm just a massive fan of podcasts. So I got asked, oh, and I'm so sorry, I should turn my phone off. That's a rookie mistake, isn't it? Such a fan of podcasts. I started just actually being invited to be a guest,
Mhm.
talking on various topics because there's different things I talk about. I talk a little bit about leadership, I talk about executive coaching, I talk about storytelling, I talk about
Mm.
diversity, inclusion, and equity, I
Mhm.
talk about ESG, I talk about my career. There's lots of different things that I talk about, as well as technology, obviously, and obviously the media. So I kept being asked to be a guest. And then
Mhm.
one of the people that asked me to be a guest was the amazing Tech Leaders podcast. And I have to say, if I'm allowed a little mini promotion, if,
Oh, absolutely.
if anyone is looking for a real dose of mega inspiration and
Mm.
interested even a little bit in the tech sector, I would recommend listening to the Tech Leaders podcast.
Mhm.
It's fronted by the amazing Gareth Davis, who's
Yeah.
Welsh and he's lovely, absolutely lovely man. And I was one of his guests as a tech leader. And and then we got on brilliantly. And then he came back to me a little while later and said, we think you're kind of great. And would you like to co-host when we do special series?
Yeah.
So we did that. So my very first special series with them, we did a big focus on women in tech.
Mhm.
And then every year since we've been doing AI series. So once a year we do a special deep dive into AI. And we pick out amazing interviewees who are at the
Mhm.
top of their game. So we had, for example, the CEO of Wave that do autonomous cars even before they got their multi-billion investment. So we do a little bit of talent spotting and we get some
Yes.
amazing people involved. So yeah, so I love co-hosting on the podcast. And then I continue to be a guest at various podcasts as well. So it's a nice way to be still in touch with broadcasting.
Yes, no, I love that. Um, I mean, how did you get into broadcasting in the first place? Did you do like comms or something at university? Was that correct?
No, actually, I did French and German literature at
Oh,
university. Communications of some sort. And it's still actually, do you know what? Just to mention in passing, I got this French book the other day, and I'm currently reading
in French.
in French, but
Oh, good woman.
it's my first time I've picked up a book in French for several years, and it's
Uh-huh.
just really, oh, it's such a pleasure being able to, because I forget that I can do that, you see, because I don't normally use that in day-to-day life.
I bet you that's really good for brain training and keeping your mind active that you read in a different language.
Yeah, I think, well, I've only just started. It's just a little
Okay.
bit of relaxation over the summer. But yes, how did I get into broadcasting? Well, in
How,
fact,
how did you? How did you?
it's a good question. And I don't know if you heard the news, but Biddy Baxter has just died, and she was
Yes.
the editor of Blue Peter. Now,
Yes, I
when I
did see
was,
that this
yeah,
morning.
very sad news.
Yeah.
But luckily she had a very long life.
Mhm.
But when I was a little girl, I used to love watching Blue Peter. And unlike an awful lot of people watching Blue Peter and having a go at the various things, I used to imagine I was in charge of Blue Peter. I
Oh,
was working out what should be in Blue Peter, like what should be the things that should be in the program. I
yes.
used to sit and pretend I was in charge of Blue Peter. And then in parallel to that, I used to really like dancing, acting, singing.
Uh, yes.
So I was really involved in the performing arts and all that kind of thing. I did ballet. In fact, ballet was my very first paid job at the age of
Oh,
9.
oh,
Got a job with the Ballet en Berre for Coppelia. So I loved like performing. I
yes.
love the concept of entertainment.
Yeah.
And I love story. And I just thought, how do I kind of get to do all of that sort of thing? And then I thought, well, if I could become a presenter,
Mhm.
that could be a way of bringing together acting and talking and story and everything,
Mhm.
and my love of television. Um, and then when I was 15, I managed to get work experience thanks to a connection of my dad, who had a friend who had a son who it was like, I don't know how many steps removed. But I ended up getting a work experience opportunity at
Mhm.
Wells Street, where ITN was originally based. And ITN is
Oh,
like independent television news,
yes.
so the ITV news. And I had the most amazing,
I'd imagine.
amazing week.
Yeah.
I got to see the vision mixers. I got to speak to people behind the scenes. I got to speak to the cameraman. I remember at the time it was the Queen's visit to China, and I remember them making all the graphics with her wearing this dazzling yellow dress. I mean, there was just so much about it. And I should point out to any viewers, you can probably see, I'm very much older than 15 now, but I still remember so much about it. I absolutely loved it. I got totally addicted. And then the creme de la creme, someone arranged for me to have lunch with Michael Brunson, who I don't know if you will remember, but he used to be the political editor at the time.
Oh, no, I don't remember that now.
He was a gigantic, tall man,
Mhm.
quite intimidating, and unbelievably, the work experience girl was allowed to go and have lunch with him to sort of learn from him.
That was quite amazing of him, Kerensa. That was like
Really think
generous of him, right?
completely amazing.
Yeah.
Completely amazing. And actually, you do find working in television that there's an awful lot of absolute generosity of spirit.
Oh, that's really nice.
Television's a team game.
Yeah.
If someone's got their individual job, nobody can do any of it without somebody else.
Yeah.
It's a team spirit game. It's a
Yeah.
real collaborative environment. So during that conversation, he said something that stayed with me because I told him I quite like to go into presenting maybe or being a reporter. And when he teased a few things out of me,
Mhm.
I think maybe a little bit about the fact that I'm an older sister, so I've got like I'm a bit of a bossy boots, and I like being in charge of things, um, and basically he said to me, "Look, where the power resides is actually in being a producer.
Oh,
I think you might like to look into being a producer."
yes.
So from that point onwards, that's what I decided I wanted to do.
Oh, great
Um,
advice.
yeah, amazing advice. So then I went to university. My first job after university, I had a year living in Japan, because I love doing languages and things. I love learning about
Yes.
cultures. So I had a wonderful year living in Japan, but I came back after that and I applied for a few jobs, which I didn't get. I got, lots of rejections, as everybody does.
Mm.
Um, but then I wrote to the original person who'd arranged my work experience. And now that person was no longer at ITN, but
Yes.
connected to someone who was. And I got an interview, not an interview, sorry, I got a meeting with that person. And I was going to ask that person, who's called Martin Hurd, if I should do a postgrad in journalism. That's what I
Hmm.
thought perhaps would be sensible. And during the course of that conversation, he asked me whether I'd watched the lunchtime news the day before, which I had.
Oh, lucky. Good.
Yeah, and he asked me a few questions about it. And then he said, "And did you watch yesterday's BBC lunchtime news?" And because I didn't have a job at the time, I was like, yes, thinking, oh no, he's going to think I'm a total layabout. But actually, he then asked me to compare and contrast the treatment
Oh.
of the two different news approaches, like the way that the
Mm.
BBC was approaching a story and the way that ITM was approaching the story.
Yes.
And I did. And long story short, my wall telephone that was hanging in the hallway in my home in Surbiton at the time, rang a couple of days later and he said, "Don't go to do a postgrad, come and work for ITN."
Oh my goodness. I mean, I love what I love about this story is that you're obviously you're passionate about it. You're interested in it. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, you were probably everything's got a wee bit of luck, isn't it? That you know that he met with you. But the fact that you'd watched both lunchtime newses the day before, I mean, you
I-
could have gone and met somebody for coffee and just not seen that. I love everything about this. And you know what? Scribbling down while you were talking, one of my best friends since I was 4 years old, who is now a presenter, and does songs of praise. I remember when we were about 7 or 8 years old, yeah, around that age, I'd go to her house and we would sit inside her wardrobe and she'd interview me with a pretend microphone. So she was obviously always into, she didn't want to be, whereas my other friend wanted to be on Blue Peter, but also wanted to do a million other things. So there was no real focus there. But my friend Claire, I remember her in like doing pretend interviews with us when we were like at primary school. And then she's ended up
So
working.
lovely. That's so lovely to hear that. And yes, I was given a tape recorder, like a cassette tape recorder when I was
Yeah.
9. And I would take my little tape recorder around everywhere and
Uh-huh.
record interviews with people. I didn't
Yes.
have a wardrobe. I think that's a really good idea. I should have thought of that myself. But no, but I would just, create stories, invent things, talk to
Yeah.
people. I used to just love that. And I still do. I still do. In fact, just this year, I wrote the data and AI playbook for a company which is a startup,
Of course you did.
a media and production startup, which is it works in the sports field, aiming
Yeah.
to be, a very successful sports production ecosystem. And so I'm still absolutely plugged in. I did a talk for for Bauer Media
Mhm.
2 weeks ago on AI, so audiences in the age of AI. So it's a lovely, now I've come full circle. I can bring together all of
Yes,
my
you can put it
text,
all together.
all my story stuff and all my media stuff. And it's just, for me, it looks like I planned it that way, but it's really, I follow my heart really.
Yeah, well, I mean I actually think that is we're not going to go all like woo-woo here, Corinza, but I do think that, I mentioned luck earlier, kind of tongue in cheek. I don't really believe in luck. I think we make our own luck. And you're so passionate about these things that people can see that in you, and you're so knowledgeable that you're kind of an obvious choice for a lot of these organizations and companies, I think. But before we get into all the work that you do with companies and C-suites and everything, tell us about your book, because your book's got nothing to do with any of this.
No, although, and for those who are interested, this is season
Seas of
2.
Snow.
It is a bestseller. It became a bestseller within 4 months of publication back in
Amazing.
2017. It is based on a case that I covered when I was a journalist. So when I was at the BBC, I was running for a few years a team called News Specials, and
Mhm.
that was the stuff that did the tangential stuff to the news. And so we did long form investigations and things
Right.
and or different special things that were special, like to do with the news. And one
Yes.
of them was a very sad case. I don't know if anyone will remember, but there was a school caretaker called Ian Huntley who
Oh my gosh, yes, of course. Ooh,
two 10-year-old girls
yeah.
from his school. Um, and at the time, I was running news specials, and Cambridgeshire Constabulary invited all the different potential broadcasters to basically see who they wanted to work with, because they wanted to work with one broadcaster on an exclusive basis during
Hmm.
the course of the investigation. And I was running the BBC bid, and I won it. And so
Hmm.
for about 9 months, I was embedded with Cambridgeshire Constabulary and worked with them, basically covering the story, all behind the scenes. Like this stuff wasn't broadcast, but it was
Yes.
gathering together their processes. So all the things they did, bottoming out bits of evidence, all the way they were unraveling the story, things they found out. And very crucially, and this is the kind of the critical thing relating to my book, I was in a very dark police room one day going through all of the police tapes, because back in those days you filmed on tape,
Uh-huh.
the tapes relating to the case. And I was on my own, and I just had cups of tea like I do today. I'm always kind of like sitting there with my poison of choice. And I was spooling through various tapes and making timecode references of what I thought was the best material that we would use in the documentary,
Hmm.
at the point when the case came to court, or the verdict was delivered. And one of them was labeled deposition sites. Now, in my naivety, I didn't really think about what deposition site was, but now if you think about what deposition means, something's deposed there, and it was the remains of the girls,
Oh,
and I hadn't had sort of hostile environments training, or hadn't had any of the type of training to prepare me to see something like that.
oh,
And I just found it had a profound effect on me. And
yes.
obviously, during the course of covering the investigation, I got very interested in the mind and motives of a psychopath, because it became
Mhm.
clear to me that Ian Huntley was a psychopath.
Yeah.
So I wanted to dig in deeper as to what is it? There are lots and lots of psychopaths that are among us in life. There are lots of people who are psychopaths.
Yes.
Um, that doesn't necessarily mean they're evil human beings.
Yes.
And only a very, very tiny percentage of psychopaths go on to commit a monstrous act. So I wanted to explore whether evil was born or made, like the balance of nature
Mhm.
versus nurture.
Yes.
So fast forward a few years, I had by then trained and qualified as a professional executive coach. And during the training of executive coaching, you learn all sorts of different things about psychodynamic psychology, humanistic psychology, Gestalt psychology, different disciplines of psychology.
Hmm.
I really wanted to understand better about the human mind. And then it got to the point where I wanted, as a process of catharsis, to write my story. So I created a story where there was lots of references inspired by the case. It's not the case, but I transposed elements of what I felt
Yes.
into 1950s England, in the northeast of England. And I have a story. There's a very, very bad man, and there's a very, very lovely little girl, and that's Seas of Snow.
That's what you're, well, I mean, Kerensa, I'll have to get a copy of it now.
I think I might be able to post you one.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing.
Actually, if you want any of your viewers, if you want the first like 5 viewers who comment on your whenever you decide to do something about this podcast and release it, I'll give away 5 copies to the
Oh,
first
that's very
five.
generous. Um, but we'll all have to get a copy of it.
Well, I acquired the rights back, because my aim over the next few years is I do want to get the movie or the miniseries made.
Oh, wow. Well, where did the rights go in the first place?
Well,
Sorry.
my publisher had the rights, because when you sign up with a publisher, they then have the rights. So,
Oh, because I self-published.
okay, yeah. So, yes, so, well,
Mm.
yes, I had to acquire the rights back, and now I do. So I've also got a bunch of spare copies of the book, which I give discerningly, uh, when I think there's a good cause.
That's very Taylor Swift of you, getting back your own right, your own
Yes,
right.
exactly. I stand on my inner tailor.
Excellent. Good. I'm glad to hear it. Kerensa, how did you go then from working? So you were the head of dat data at BT.
Yes, I was group director of data platforms.
Right, that's the proper term, yes. How did you go from that? Um, did you launch yourself from that? What happened? Because now you work with so many amazing people. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, so how did you go from having a job
Yes.
to working as an advisor and an executive coach?
It's a really good question, and it's something that I had been working towards for actually
Mm.
quite a long time. So
Yes.
I had a kind of parallel career because, as you've probably noticed by now, I like wearing many hats. Never
You
quite.
make me look like I do nothing.
Oh, not at all. Don't be silly. But no, sometimes I might be wearing a cowboy hat. The next day I might be wearing a tiara. It's sort of just the idea that I can do lots of different things and I can indulge
Yes.
this just relish.
I love
Life.
it because I love this so much myself.
Exactly. There's so much about life. And for me, life's too short to
Yeah.
just do one thing. So
Yeah.
I had, ever since I was at the BBC, when I became the BBC's head of strategic delivery, I
Yes.
also joined the BBC People Board.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was also then on the BBC Diversity and Inclusion Board. And all of my work as head of strategic delivery directly supported the executive board of the BBC.
Right.
I got very close and personal with all of the way boards work. And then through the BBC Making
Mm.
Digital work I did,
Yes.
I got involved in various committees. So I got involved, I did various things at Downing Street. I did things with the Cabinet Office. Um, I just got invited to do things. And so, and quite early on, back in 20, I think it was 2015, I became
Mhm.
one of the founding board directors of Founders for Schools. Sorry, board trustees of Founders for Schools.
Yeah.
And I'm still involved with that charity. It was an amazing charity connecting
Mm.
business leaders with schools.
Right.
So
Oh,
that's the wonderful thing that if you have a if you are a business leader and you want to give something back to the new generations, it's a wonderful charity to be part of because you can just give an hour of your time. And
mm.
they do all the hard work for you, but they arrange for you to go and either talk in person at your local school
Yes.
or do it over video. You know, you can. There's all different things you can
I
do.
love that. Yeah, I love that.
It's actually really important because the Gatsby benchmarks have proven that each meaningful encounter with a business person helps expand the horizons, and
Mm.
particularly of our more disadvantaged young people
Yes.
might not otherwise get the chance to hear from business leaders. It's so inspiring, and
Mm.
all of your listeners and viewers have got the most amazing businesses, and like the story of their founder stories are all amazing. And
Yes.
so young people today would love to hear all of that. So that's an aside, but I became a board trustee of
Yeah.
that charity. I'm no longer a trustee, by the way, but I am a member. So I'm one of the people that helps appoint the trustees there.
Mm.
And then I became one of the founding board directors of the Inspiring Digital Enterprise Award, which was the community interest company that I then went on to become chief executive of at Buckingham Palace.
Right.
So fast forward through all of that, I then became
Just casually.
yes, well, yes. I mean, it's just, but I was building up this kind of parallel board director, board
Yes, alongside your career. Yes, your
alongside that
job.
career.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a case of jumping off and starting from scratch.
No.
And so over the last number of years, I also became a trustee of another amazing charity called the Centre of Acceleration for Social Technology, so
Hmm.
CAST. And that is amazing. That's doing lots of, by the way, that really helps a lot of business people and charities with AI help. So there is no
Yes.
such thing as a sort of a dumb question. They're
Yes.
amazing.
Well, I actually do have a question about this, Kerensa, because I am thinking while you're talking about this, and I'm thinking about a couple of people that I know who, you know, I'm 51 now. I'm in my 50s, and a lot of my school friends, I guess,
Yeah.
are finding that there are unexpected redundancies happen in your 50s. And I'm thinking, well, I don't know that they have thought about building up these other things alongside your, I mean, it's kind of a brilliant idea to do it. Never mind giving back, but also that you aren't just in your job and that's it. And then if your job goes, what are you going to do? You haven't built what you did, to my mind, is you built up all these relationships while
Yes.
also working in your job. But my question on this is, like, how did you become these trustees? Did you just find these people through networking? Did they ask you? Did you approach them? I mean, these sound like amazing organizations, but I will admit that I haven't heard of some of them. So how did that happen?
Well, it's a mixture of things, but I do
Hmm.
think it all comes down to your network and
Yeah.
actually, dare I say it, your visibility. Places like LinkedIn, because when people know that you have an interest in something, they
Yes.
naturally gravitate towards you. And
Mhm.
my work was taking, so in my work at the BBC was taking me into these places. I was
You're
building
connecting.
strategy for a
Yes.
national program
Yes.
to help people get inspired with digital creativity. So that was the
And
strategy I was
yeah,
designing. So
so
I
to
got
meet
to meet
people.
meet
Yes.
loads of people.
Yes.
So through that, I met Sherry Couture, who is the founder and chair of Founders for Schools, for example.
Mhm.
And because I was doing things with the Palace, because of the digital work I was doing, that
Mhm.
then got them knowing me, and I got then invited to be part
Yes.
of that. But for example, with Cast, it was actually, and this is a really good company for any of your friends or colleagues or listeners. It's called Society, and it's an executive search firm that places people into the charitable sector. They approached me about would I like to be considered to be a trustee. I then went through an application process. These things always, there's always a process. It's always competitive. There's always loads of
Mhm.
people that want the job. You might not get it first time.
Okay.
And then likewise, I became a trustee of Sir John Soane's Museum,
Yes.
which is a wonderful place filled with Greek and Roman antiquities.
That
And
story is in my book.
it is in your book. It is in and that I got approached by an executive search firm called Green Park, which
Mhm.
specialize in more diverse board searches. So they're looking more for women of ethnic minorities or different sexual orientations or women or just a variety of different people to kind of make the what used to be considered an ordinary board, which was a little bit white, male, and stale,
Yeah.
a little bit more diverse. So they approached me as to potentially be the technology trustee. And again, highly competitive process. And I was slightly amazed to get it, but I did. And then the commercial boards that I'm now on, so I'm on a board of a water company. There was I did a keynote for Computer Weekly a couple of
We
years
haven't even
ago.
touched on your all of your awards that you've won.
Oh well. I was doing a keynote there, and that was amazing. And it was actually on diversity and inclusive leadership. That was the
Right.
topic.
Yes.
And a lady in the audience came and spoke to me. Quite a few people spoke to me afterwards, and this lady said, "Oh, I'd love to stay in touch with you, maybe do something together in the future." And I said, "Oh, that sounds lovely. Where do you work?" And she said, "Spencer Stewart." And I said, "Oh, what's that?" Because I was like entirely ignorant. But Spencer
Yes.
Stewart is an executive search firm, and in fact, it's one of the best. And,
Oh.
and within a few weeks, she had a video call with me, wanted to understand a bit more about my passions, what made me tick, my experiences and talents.
Mhm.
And then that led to an opportunity to be part of, again, another competitive process. But amazingly, I got that role. And then, as you will remember, I had a very sad occurrence in my life where my mum died quite
Mm.
unexpectedly. So it was in 2022. She went from being very strong and healthy and fit to dying 10 weeks later.
Oh,
Um,
Kerensa.
and it
Oh.
was, yes, it was very rapid. It
Mhm.
turned out she had 5 brain tumors, um, skin cancer, and a lung tumor.
Oh,
So
my Lord.
she really was very sadly
Mm.
no hope there. But that then also accelerated my thinking about life's too short to just
Yes.
be too sucked into one direction.
Yes.
So I went and proactively got in touch with a number of the executive search firms who I was already in touch with or who had already reached out to me or who I liked. And I told them that I would really like to get another commercial board because I figured if I could make the maths work in terms of being able to pay my bills, then I
Yes.
would, be able to have a different type of life. And long story short, I then was approached about being on the board of Knight Frank, which is a real estate company.
Hmm.
And that's a global, amazing, amazing company in the property world. Um, and I got that job as well. So I'm now on the group executive board of Knight Frank. I'm on the board of a water company. I'm on the board of a museum. And then through all of that, I carried on doing lots of different advisory board things. So I'm on the board of Noon, which is an amazing platform for women in midlife. So again,
Yeah, I get those emails every Sunday.
they are fantastic. So Eleanor Mills,
Yes.
one of my stories features in her book as well. Actually, she asked me if for permission to talk about that. That was my decision not to have children. She asked me about that.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm also on the board of the Digital Leaders, which specialises in helping support public sector organisations. And I'm also on the board of the advisory board of Trove, which is an employee engagement platform. So I help lots of different organisations in different ways,
Yes, which I think you must love.
which I do. Although I find it can be a little bit tiring if you get too
Uh-huh.
much all at once.
Uh-huh.
Um, but
So
I
I,
also then developed my strand, as part of my founding my company last year, um, executive coaching and strategic advisory, which would be other income earners that I could
yes.
then run a little company as supplements to my income.
So for someone, so I'm not on any boards, and there's a nonprofit here in Belfast that is aimed at getting more women onto boards. And I think, how would I fit that in with running my own business? But if what does that look like in reality? Like, what is your for one of those boards? What is your time demand in any given month, or does it change month to month? Like, do you have a contract that says you have so many hours a month to give to that one role, or how does it work?
Yeah, you normally sign a contract where the terms of reference are designed up front.
Hmm.
So if you wanted to start in, say, the public sector or the charity sector,
Hmm.
a good way to go is, like, for example, become a school governor
Hmm.
or to sign up to be, to apply to be a trustee at one of your local charities or in a charity that has an outpost where you are, so it's easy to get to.
Yes.
For my museum, which is a public sector organisation, it's a charity, we have 4 formal board meetings a year.
Right.
They take quite a few hours. And when
Mhm.
you do have those meetings, you get a lot of papers that you need to read in advance.
Yes.
I also sit for the Soane Museum on their remuneration committee, on their finance committee, and on their audit and risk committee. And
Mm.
each of those committees meet at different times. So the remuneration committee is usually once a year
Right.
at the museum. I'm also on the remuneration committee at Knight Frank, and that meets an awful lot more, but you'd imagine it's commercial sector.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and so you scale up or scale down depending on what you think you can
Yes.
do. But the important thing is being really interested in helping support the aims
Yes.
and ambitions. And what I try to do is I cross-pollinate, like where I meet people in the business world who I feel might find the Soane Museum interesting. I talk about
Ah,
and
yes.
maybe see if I can secure some patronages because you can become a patron of the museum and then you get all these extra perks, but also then you're helping the museum. And so
Yes.
I try to think about
You're
win-win
weaving them all together
situations.
a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Or because I'm kind of their tech trustee, I leveraged a few of my technology connections and we ran like a cyber security webinar for the whole of the staff at the museum last year.
Yeah.
I also did a tabletop simulation of a ransomware attack with the top
Mm.
team, leveraging some of my connections. So, you can give outside of the formal meetings. I think it's expected that you will be passionate about the charity's causes
Yes.
and
Yes.
want to give a lot.
Yes. Yes, it's not a box ticking exercise at all. They
No.
don't want, they want, so yeah, so that the other thing that this is a revelation to me, this is a whole world that I don't really know very much about, is that you, to me, to my mind, they should be lucky to have you as a trustee, but you're telling me you had to be interviewed?
Oh, of
What?
course, yeah. No, of course. I mean, these things, oh, that's very nice of you, but it's all very complex because it's partly, do you have the right chemistry? You know, as it is, if you were interviewing, if you decided you want an assistant for your business, it's as much about their talent and expertise as it is about the chemistry and their
Yeah.
aptitude, their personality, their soft skills. So they want to know if you're going to fit in.
Yes.
They also want to know if you're genuine,
Yeah.
um, because between you, me, and the bedpost, and everyone listening, there are people who, sadly, and I've experienced it a bit in my career, there are
Mm.
people who will join, particularly charity boards, as a kind of a bauble to collect, to be able to say that they're on a board.
To say that they do
Um,
it. Yeah.
and then some people do it just to have that kind of
Mm.
shiny bauble. Others do it as a stepping stone to get a commercial board.
Yeah.
Then when you're getting a commercial board, you might get an income, you see, and
Yes.
then you start getting a little bit of remuneration, and depending on the type of company, you can, have a small income or a bit of a bigger income.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think there are some people that do it a little bit inauthentically, or
Yes.
they will promise you the world. I know somebody, I won't reveal who, but I know somebody who is the founder and CEO of a charity,
Uh-huh.
and that person's trustees have been quite a major disappointment because
Oh,
they've all joined with great enthusiasm
mm.
and aren't really leaning in.
Aren't really
And
available.
yeah, and
Mm.
I think it's ever so disappointing when people do it for the wrong reasons. So if you are going
Yes.
to do it for the right reasons, but also have a
Yes.
really open conversation. So I remember when I was being interviewed by the chair of the water company, this was I think at least 2.5 years before I left BT. I said at some point I will leave BT.
Mhm.
So I want to be honest and transparent with you,
Yes.
because if you want me because I'm group director of data
Mhm.
platforms at BT, that may change in the future.
Yes, that'll change. Yes.
So it's just, is it me you want, or is it
Yes.
the person with that title?
Yes, yes.
Because I just felt I live and die by my authenticity, you see, and I think that's really
Yes.
important.
And I love that. So it goes, yes. So you're also assessing that they want you for the right reasons as well, which is great. That's good.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And also the nice thing about my current portfolio career is it's the first time in my career that I get to actively choose
Yes.
how I spend my time,
Mhm.
which businesses I want to work with, and who I want to work with.
Yes.
So I exclusively only do things with fabulous people, which I think,
Well, we're very
oh,
honored that you came on the podcast then.
you're rather fabulous. But I feel so lucky. I feel really lucky. And I know to your point earlier, I also feel I've earned it. I'm not going to be disingenuous. I do think I've earned it. I work really hard in my career.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
I mean,
uh,
it's what
yeah.
career you've had so far. It's amazing. It is
Mm.
really genuinely amazing. Um, my husband laughs at me sometimes, Krenza, because I'll talk about people like you. I say, Louise, you've not done too badly yourself.
Exactly, exactly. Well, you've got a picture of, you're meeting the king up there. It's like, it's not too shabby, Louise. So you've got a picture on the House of Lords terrace. You know,
Very specific. And my Downing Street picture, wee tiny one up there.
there we go, you see. You're rocking it. And also
Oh dear.
it's lovely as well, is your actual business model helps people. So
Yes.
it's not just that you are providing a service. Lots of
Mm,
people provide services, lots of people provide products, but you are meaningfully creating ripple effects throughout society.
yes.
So if even one thing you and I talk about today helps one person, that's a
Yes.
ripple effect that
Mhm.
might, if one person listening to this or seeing this decides to become a school governor or decides to become a
Yes.
trustee at a charity, and that then leads them on to helping that charity or helping that school, wouldn't that be wonderful? I
That'd
mean,
be amazing. I mean, I would love that.
yeah.
Absolutely. Friends, I'm very mindful of our time. I mean, there's so many. We could just talk all day, but we can't. We can't talk all day. Um, For people who, are you open to people reaching out to you to talk about
Yes.
these kinds of things?
Yes, of course. I mean, all I would say is I do have a very busy diary.
You sure? What color code did this episode go in at?
That's a good question. I can't remember now.
My color coded in your diary.
What's your color coded in my diary? What did I do? Okay, I'm gonna have a quick look. Oh yes, yes, you're sky blue.
Oh, well, there you are. I'm wearing the right t-shirt today.
Yes. Yes. Well, sky blue tends to be business things that I'm doing, that I'm doing it for a business purpose,
Mhm.
but I'm not remunerated for it, but I
Yes.
consider it business.
Oh, that's
Um,
good.
the orange is Knight Frank, a kind of a graphite grey is my water company, yellow is the Soane Museum. I tend to have a kind of sludgy salmon pink colour for things which I consider droppable. Uh, I need to drop things. And then I have a non-negotiable red if it's meeting up with a friend or doing something with a member of my family.
Oh, I like that.
Um, so red is do not go
Do
there.
not move this. Yes.
And
Oh,
I have
Kerensa, what an
stage
absolute
B.
delight. Absolutely delightful to talk with you today. It's been honestly bright. You've kicked my off my week so wonderfully. If people, well, they can find you on LinkedIn. Where would you want to send someone if they want to know more about you?
Yeah, please connect with me on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
If you wanted to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is called Seas of Snow, which is the name of my book. But I don't really do businessy things there. I do more personal things there.
Yes.
But yeah, please connect with me on LinkedIn. But please don't be offended if I can't make time to mentor you at this
No,
point.
nobody's allowed to ask you for free mentoring. That's not
Okay.
podcast listeners. Do not ask any of my guests for
Okay.
mentoring for free. Thank
That's
you.
good. That's good because I'm up to my ultimate. I spend more than half of my working year doing pro bono work. So I'm at
Yes.
my capacity for doing.
Oh, I would be mortified if I thought somebody asked you for free mentoring from being my guest.
Oh, bless. Well, it happens a lot that people will ask if I could just, could they
I
pick
just
my
pick your
brain?
brain.
But having said that, um, there are sometimes specific things that can you connect me with so and so, or
Yes.
have you got a tip on this? And if it's something I can just fit in amongst everything, then I
Mhm.
absolutely will because the world is made up of connections, and as we know, it's what makes life rich and interesting.
Yes, it does. Well, this has been a very, very interesting episode. Thank you so much for joining me, Kerensa. Can't wait to see what everyone's response is to this week's episode. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye, everyone.